The winner is Julie Andrews. Mary Poppins.
Thank you very much for this lovely honor.
She was the picture of poise and purity. Mary Poppins, Maria von Trapp, the very embodiment of grace. But behind Julie Andrews's polished smile lay a hidden truth, a secret romance that threatened everything she built. At 89, she finally reveals the forbidden affair that shattered her marriage and almost silenced her career. Could Hollywood's sweetheart have led a double life behind the scenes? What really happened behind the scenes of Julie Andrews's golden image? Julie Andrews was born in 1935 in Walton-on-Thames, England. Even from the start, her life was marked by secrets. Her mother, Barbara, had an affair with a family friend, and Julie was the result. For the first 15 years of her life, she believed someone else was her father. That truth, which had been hidden from the world for decades, was something she would only reveal much later in her autobiography. Her childhood was far from the polished world of musicals and fairy tales. During World War II, her family fell apart. Her parents separated and remarried, and Julie moved between homes, sometimes staying with her biological father, sometimes with her mother and new stepfather, Ted Andrews. Life with Ted was dark. He drank heavily, and worse, he crossed boundaries no child should endure. Julie, still just a young girl, put a lock on her bedroom door just to feel safe. They lived in poverty, scraping by in a rough part of London. But even amid the chaos, something extraordinary emerged. Her voice. Ted, despite his flaws, recognized her vocal potential and arranged singing lessons. That decision changed everything. Julie began studying under Madame Lillian Stiles Allen, a renowned vocal coach who became like a third mother. Madame Allen immediately saw something extraordinary in the shy girl, a rare vocal range and an impossibly clear tone. Julie once joked that her high notes were so sharp only dogs could hear them, but those notes would go on to shake concert halls. By the age of 10, Julie was performing with her family. She would stand on a beer crate just to reach the microphone. Soon, she was touring with soldiers, riding trains across England, and performing beside another child star, Petula Clark. At 12, she got her first real break, performing at the London Hippodrome. She sang a complex French opera aria, and the crowd was blown away. That one performance turned into a year-long engagement. At 13, she became the youngest solo singer ever to perform at the Royal Variety Show for the King and Queen. By her teenage years, she was everywhere, on the radio, on TV, and on stage in productions like Jack and the Beanstalk and Cinderella. Her first film appearance was a voice role in the Italian cartoon The Singing Princess. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was her first step toward something bigger. At 19, Julie crossed the Atlantic for the first time. She was cast as the lead in a Broadway musical called The Boyfriend. She had been recommended for the role by British actress Hattie Jacques, and she took the leap, leaving her family behind in England. It was a terrifying decision. Julie was the one supporting them financially, and everything about Broadway felt uncertain. But her father encouraged her to take the risk. It paid off. Her performance was a hit. Critics raved about her. Audiences couldn't get enough of her pitch-perfect voice and natural comedic timing. The show ran for over 480 performances, and Julie won the Theatre World Award for her debut. But that wasn't the real prize. In the audience one night were two men, Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Loewy. They were casting a new musical, My Fair Lady. They found their Eliza Doolittle in Julie Andrews. At just 20, Julie stepped into a role that would define her. She brought Eliza Doolittle to life night after night, her voice soaring from Cockney gutters to elegant ballrooms. The show was a smash hit. But when it was time to turn My Fair Lady into a movie, Hollywood broke her heart. The role she had made famous went to Audrey Hepburn. Audrey couldn't sing, and her vocals were dubbed. Julie later said if they had asked her to lend her voice for the film, she would have spat in their eye. But life had something better in store. One night after a performance of Camelot, Walt Disney came backstage. He had seen her play Queen Guinevere and knew instantly she was Mary Poppins. Julie explained she was pregnant. Walt smiled and said, "That's okay. We'll wait." When Mary Poppins hit theaters in 1964, Julie Andrews became an overnight sensation. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress, and the film outperformed My Fair Lady, proving that the woman Hollywood had once passed over was now its brightest star. Then came The Sound of Music. Released in 1965, it became a global phenomenon. The image of Julie spinning on a mountaintop became etched in cinema history. But filming it wasn't nearly as magical. In that iconic opening shot, the helicopter filming her kept knocking her over with wind from its blades. She was flattened after every take. Despite the behind-the-scenes challenges, the movie won 5 Oscars and cemented Julie Andrews as Hollywood royalty. But being too perfect came with a cost. She had played 2 nearly identical roles, charming, musical nannies, and audiences started to think that was all she could do. Julie fought hard to break the mold. She took darker, more serious roles. The Americanization of Emily, Torn Curtain, Hawaii. Some succeeded, others flopped. In Star, a lavish musical biography, critics slammed her performance. The movie bombed. Her next project, Darling Lily, directed by her husband Blake Edwards, was supposed to reinvent her. Instead, it featured a striptease and a failed attempt to shock audiences. It flopped, too. Hollywood cooled on her. But she didn't give up. She shifted to television, launching The Julie Andrews Hour, a musical variety show. Though critically acclaimed and Emmy-winning, it was canceled after 1 season due to poor ratings. So she tried something completely different: nightclubs. In smoky venues, she sang jazz, cracked jokes, and parodied her goody two-shoes image. Audiences were stunned and impressed. In 1979, she made a big screen comeback in 10, followed by S.O.B. in 1981, where she appeared topless, a calculated move to shatter her wholesome persona. But it was 1982's Victor Victoria that brought her back to the top. Playing a woman pretending to be a man, impersonating a woman, the role was bold, smart, and provocative. It earned her another Oscar nomination and reminded the world just how versatile she was. Through the years, her personal life was filled with highs and lows. She divorced Tony Walton in 1968 after nearly a decade of marriage. Their work schedules, the pressures of fame and parenthood, pulled them apart. She later turned to therapy, encouraged by director Mike Nichols, which helped her find clarity and balance. Then came Blake Edwards. They met outside a therapist's office, a classic Hollywood moment. Despite a 13-year age difference, something just clicked. They married in 1969 and adopted 2 daughters from Vietnam. Their marriage lasted 41 years, filled with love, humor, and creative collaborations. But in 1995, during a Broadway run of Victor Victoria, Julie's voice began to falter. Doctors found a lesion on her vocal cords. In 1997, she underwent surgery. It was supposed to be routine. It wasn't. The procedure left her with permanent vocal damage. Her singing voice was gone. Speaking became painful. She filed a malpractice lawsuit, eventually settling in 2000. The loss was devastating. More than professional, it was personal. Her voice had been her identity. But Julie didn't retreat. She turned to writing, co-authoring dozens of children's books with her daughter Emma. She returned to Disney in The Princess Diaries, playing Queen Clarisse, a royal mentor to a new generation. She voiced animated characters in Shrek, narrated Disney's Enchanted, and hosted a Netflix show for children about the performing arts. In 2016, she directed a 60th anniversary production of My Fair Lady, honoring the very role that had started it all. Even without her legendary voice, Julie Andrews never stopped creating, never stopped inspiring. She once said losing her voice was like losing a limb. But the truth is, Julie Andrews never lost her gift. Because her real gift wasn't just in how she sang. It was in how she lived, with grace, resilience, and courage. Julie Andrews may have lost her voice, but her legacy? It will echo forever. If you were inspired by her incredible journey, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves classic cinema, and subscribe for more true stories that reveal the heart behind the spotlight. Thanks for watching.